Can the Vikings stay alive and spring an upset on Sunday at Ford Field? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Matt Dery, Locked On Lions, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings. It's our Thursday crossover brought to you by PrizePicks. Final game of the regular season, Week 18, final regular season crossover. Could it be the last crossover for Luke for the season? There's an outside shot. The Vikings make the playoffs. Lions, of course. Oh, come on, I had to go there. Lions, of course, at least know they will be playing next week. Locked On Lions and Locked On Vikings brought to you today by PrizePicks. Crossover Thursday, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Luke, great to see you twice in 3 weeks, my friend. How are things going?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm ready for this one to be over. This Viking season has gone from kind of intriguing and interesting to see what different quarterbacks can do to just excruciating. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's gone. They've got the twos out there. They have like a 0.02% chance to make the playoffs because they need like 4 different games to go their way. It's that. Let's just let this thing die with mercy and move on to covering draft quarterback. Like I'm watching Caleb Williams right now in between recording.
Are you?
And something else. Yeah, I'm done. Like I'm on to the draft.
I love it. Luke Braun waving the white flag. Can you go over for the Lions listeners very quickly? Like, what are the crazy scenarios? Obviously, the Vikings have to win and the Packers have to lose. What else?
That's 2. And then they also need the Seahawks to lose, and they need the Bucks to win the NFC South, which either they win or the Saints lose for that to happen.
Got it.
Because they don't have the tiebreaker on the Bucks because they lost to them week 1. So they need 4 games all to go their way, including their own. And one of those 4 can be either of the NFC South games.
Interesting. All right. Well, I mean, we saw the 2 teams 2 weeks ago. What is the top storyline? Obviously, Nick Mullins is getting another opportunity here, but what would you say is number 1 on your list right now?
Right now, I think we're just trying to get out with a little bit of dignity. I mean, the Vikings will approach this game not trying to predict the outcome of the Packers game and the Seahawks game and all the NFC South stuff. They're just going to go in and try to win a game. I think it was this year I said that the Vikings will find a hilarious way to split all 3 divisional series. Well, they've split the first 2, but it seems like it's reasonably low stakes for the Lions as well. So it feels like if everybody gets out without any major injuries, we're all happy. I think for Vikings fans, we're all just watching to see if Justin Jefferson hits 1,000 yards. Because he said that was a goal a couple of weeks ago after he came back, missed half the season, still hit 1,000. And he needs 118 yards to do it. And with Nick Mullins playing absolute bozo ball, absolutely in the cards. and he did. I think he got 140 in the last game against the Lions. So we can absolutely do this. We'll have 4 interceptions. And if Justin Jefferson hits 1,000 yards, I think most Vikings fans will say, all right, good day.
Top storyline here, Luke, and it's been going on all week. And I said this on the Wednesday show that I'm done talking about it. But for your audience, we got to talk about it. I mean, this screw job that took place last weekend.
Is everybody still like going to the billboards and all that?
Yeah, I mean, the billboards are up. The Decker reported. Dan Skipper spoke on Wednesday and basically said, look, here's what I was signaling, and it wasn't to the referee. I was signaling 12 personnel with my left hand and right, whatever. Regardless, Lion fans have been through this before. Debacles in Dallas. You go back to the 2014 playoffs and everything else. And just, that was a game they thought they had when Decker made that catch. And obviously the long time between the celebrating and all of a sudden, flags on the field. And then for Brad Allen to not keep his job, but come right out and have an assignment for week 18 and be the official in the first game Saturday. Between the Ravens and Steelers. It's just kind of like thumbing their nose in the face of the Lions. Then their video that they put out, which was bogus. So that's kind of still the storyline here. But
so defensive.
What's that?
They're so defensive. It's funny. Like bogus. I can remember so many Lions just like cosmic hosings There was a Seahawks one with the ball getting batted out of the end zone.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
Here's one thing. Hold on.
But you got out of the way in the regular season. That's what's important. That's the mistake that the Lions made in 2014.
Right.
Now it's happened. The cosmic debt is paid.
But the chastising that I've done this whole week, and I am defending the organization, whereas like the illegal touching and batting, I remember getting, I don't think I was on the radio at that point. I don't think I was doing the pod at that point, but I think I said, look, Calvin Johnson can't fumble at the goal line. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everyone's like, oh, legal batting, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, are we really on illegal batting? If Calvin puts two hands on the football and just goes in the end zone, we're not having this discussion. I was kind of on this one. I think the Lions did everything right. I do, but you know, regardless, the team has to play a football game this weekend, and Dan Campbell and everybody are saying, look, we still want the 2 seed. We're playing at 1 o'clock against Minnesota. We win, and Dallas somehow loses to Washington, which you never know in week 18. And then Philly's playing so poorly. What if they get upset by the Giants? Then the Lions are still the 2 seed. So it's still there for Detroit. I think they're gonna play this thing pretty straight.
Is this like, are Lions fans really worried about being the 3 seed and hitting the Rams? Is this like really preferable? Please give us the 2 seed so we get the Packers or the Seahawks.
You know, I was drumming up a lot of business on this for weeks, and I think I'm kind of going a little bit less, kind of more low key on it now. Stafford's not playing this Sunday. Are the Rams trying to tank to get Dallas? I don't know. You know, for Stafford to go home and play the Cowboys instead.
They're just resting.
It's weird. It is interesting, but I think the bottom line is for Lions fans is you should be now, because Campbell has said we're turbocharged, we're focused, we're angry, but we're gonna do it the proper way and focus and channel that anger on playing games and winning games. Maybe now you're just like, hey, bring on Stafford in round 1, bring on Dallas again in round 2, and let's see if we can make hay. So it certainly will be interesting. Tell me this real fast, and we'll get to the matchups and other stuff. But on the Vikings end, do you expect Monday, should there be any kind of bombshells, any firings, anything that goes on if they lose?
No, if there's any staff movement, it will be at the lower levels of assistants and position coaches and stuff. And then, of course, we begin Brian Flores watch. Yeah. But if the Vikings lose Brian Flores, it's not because they fired him or anything like that. But here's the deal. I said it going into the first Lions game, thinking, oh my God, Cincinnati totally solved the Vikings. Well, it hasn't gotten better since we last talked, Matt. So some people have started to be like, actually, Flores was just a fraud and it was just a flash in the pan or whatever. I don't think that that's the case. I think give him another offseason, he'll cook up something pretty cool. But the danger with him is that he goes and takes like the Panthers job or anything like that. So we start watching that. They also need a defensive line coach. The D-line coach left for a college job in the middle of the season this year. So they have some staff stuff to do, but if there's anything, it's minor and it's probably going to happen later.
Key matchups for this one. We will discuss Matt Dery, Luke Braun, Locked On Lions, Locked On Vikings Thursday crossover brought to you by PrizePicks. We'll do it next. This episode of Locked On Lions and Locked On Vikings is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now is the time. We're now into 2024. You got through the holidays. Maybe you're still not feeling great about yourself. You want to talk to somebody and get some help. Why wouldn't you? Get obsessed with doing things for you, changing things, expanding your horizons, and talking to a therapist. Maybe you're finally organized one part of your space. You want to tackle another in your home or whatever it is. Maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. All of these things can be discussed with a therapist because therapists help you find your strengths. You can ditch the extreme resolutions from New Year's Day and everything else and make changes that really stick. That's why you got to try our friends at BetterHelp. Thinking about starting therapy, it's simple. Give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime. What's cool about that is it won't cost you anything. No additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made here in 2024. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Matt and Luke back with you on a Week 18 edition of the Thursday crossover. Locked On Lions, Locked On Vikings. Final game of the regular season here. Lions looking to sweep Minnesota as they host the Vikes at Ford Field Sunday at 1 o'clock. Nick Mullins back in there. What was the reasoning, by the way, with KOC and making that call real fast?
Well, he benched Nick Mullins because he threw 4 picks against the Lions, and all of those plays were like open. Like those were all just bad throws that threw D-backs back into the play. So they went with Jaren Hall. That plan, I actually wrote a big long piece at the Wide Left Substack as well as on my own Patreon page, like a companion video about what went wrong with that Jaren Hall game plan. But I'll say briefly, that was a game plan kind of poorly tailored to his skills that took a long time for things to develop. Everything was these 3-4 second plays, 7-step drops, play action, big deep concepts, and it was just pressure immediately. It's just too long to ask that O-line to hold up. And too much time setting everything up, not enough time for Jaren Hall to actually sit back and survey and read. So all kinds of stuff went wrong on that. Pull him at halftime. Nick Mullins gives them a little bit of a spark, moves the offense some, but by then it was like way too little too late.
It was interesting watching Mullins against the Lions. Like you said, he was slinging it all over the place to the Lions, to the Vikings. There were some throws in that game. You went, man, that's beautiful. And then even the last one, obviously the Melifonwu interception, and then the subsequent skull celebration. I mean, did he ever say it slipped out of his hands? That was a wobbler. I mean, that was just,
it definitely did. Yeah. Which is just like, I mean, come on, you're inside, dog. Like, what are we doing? That game will stick in my brain forever. I was at that game. I think that's where I got sick. And I that's going to live rent free in my head forever. Watching that game where he like slings it for 400 yards and 4 interceptions and almost steals a stupid win. Like that was one of the most mind numbing football games I've ever seen. It's like putting citric acid in your gums. Like that was just sensory overload. But yeah, the game plan was to throw deep all day against the Lions. It was interesting because the Lions lived in these like middle of field open safety shells, and it's just post routes all day long and stick nod all day long. Just Justin Jefferson go up the middle, and Nick Mullins could make that throw pretty often. And then when anything was supposed to be thrown outside the hashes, that's when the problems would happen. And I'm pretty sure all 4 interceptions were outside the hashes. But if you took the 4 interceptions away, you'd look at that game and go, wait, how in the world did this dude get benched for? Like it really clearly was just those turnovers. So I'll be curious to see from a matchup perspective and what Aaron Glenn does here, because I don't see either of these teams approaching this game like it's a meaningless one. Like I could never see Dan Campbell ever doing that. I mean, he'll play a preseason game like it's a Super Bowl. And I don't see the Vikings doing that either, just because they still have an outside shot. Like you might as well go full hog. And so I'll be interested to see, with that in mind, what changes the Lions make coverage wise to make it so that guys are less open. Or do they not make any changes because they go, I don't know, we had 4 interceptions. That might have been the best game our secondary had, and not change anything.
No, I mean, like you said, I mean, a couple of arm punts in there. The Kirby Joseph picks were, the last one, Melifonwu, like you said, Jefferson was open. If he throws it earlier and he throws it with some zip, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
The first matchup for me, just kind of piggybacking off of what you're talking about, is Cam Sutton healthy or not? And he got torched, and it wasn't just him. I mean, Kindle Vildor and others got torched this past weekend by CeeDee Lamb, over 200 receiving yards. Jefferson obviously had a big game 2 weeks ago. Even Osborne played well. Addison can ball. So, the biggest thing for me is I'd be interested in watching if Cam Sutton, who's the Lions' clear number 1 corner, he had a groin issue. He was not himself 2 weeks ago. He was certainly not himself this past week. They tested him before the Dallas game. He was a go, and he played. And really, Joe Buck and Troyton never even really mentioned that he was hurt. But can he hang with Justin Jefferson? And is this going to be an issue on Sunday at 1 o'clock that the Lions secondary continues? Not necessarily the safeties per se, and maybe not necessarily Brian Branch per se, but those outside corners, are they going to hold up? Khalil Dorsey got some burn in that game in Minnesota, and Osborne torched him on back-to-back plays, and then he never saw the field again. So, what's this going to look like? That's definitely a matchup I'm going to keep my eye on. What else for you?
So the other side of the ball, this was the big matchup before, was, Brian Flores and Ben Johnson. And I think round 2 of that will be very interesting, because this is, I think, Brian Flores' best chance to make a fundamental change to his scheme and prove that it can still work. Because what I'm looking at right now is that scheme was a very cool flash in the pan that then got figured out and might not be viable moving forward. And if Brian Flores wants a head coaching job, he's going to want to take that scheme with him. He's got to prove that it's viable moving forward. Otherwise, you're just going to hire Tony Sperano in 2009 to, run a Wildcat. You'd be an idiot for doing that. That's what it feels. It feels like a defensive. We just watched a Wildcat season on defense because it was zone coverage behind blitzes. Nobody ever does that. The Vikings did that, found success with it for a while, and now it's gotten figured out. So I'll be really curious. Like, there is a world where this game has an outsized impact on the future of the Vikings. If Flores can figure out how to fix the problems in his scheme that have been exposed so brutally over the last 3 games, that will either affect how Brian Flores plays things if he goes to a head coaching job, or if not, can give the Vikings something to build on as they try to reconstruct a defense next year and give them a little bit of information for how to approach this in the offseason, both like personnel wise, but also what do you sit in the lab and draw up all offseason?
Oh, I think we all saw it the other night. I mean, Jordan Love off his back foot was just dropping them in there deep. And, I'm sure you and Pete discussed this last week. I didn't expect Jordan Love to play that well against your defense. But again, like you said,
I kind of did.
Did it kind of just flash?
Yeah, they're cooked.
Yeah. Did it just flash earlier in the year? And all of a sudden the bloom's off the rose? Or like you said, are these guys looking at the highway and ready to get to the airport and get back home and be done for the year? I mean, that'll be interesting to see. First 5-10 minutes,
they won't be.
We might know.
But I'm ready to get back. I'm ready for the offseason. Yeah. But they won't be. No. Justin Jefferson went up in front of the media and he was like, man, we can't control what else happens in the NFC. We're just going to go try to win a game. And ultimately, these guys are all competitors, right? They're here to compete. You put a ham sandwich on the line, these guys will play.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Lions and Vikings on Sunday, 1:00 at Ford Field. Again, Detroit going for the season series sweep. And again, Minnesota, as Luke alluded to earlier, does have an outside shot here at the playoffs. They need a win and a lot of help as these two teams go at it on Sunday. All right, how do the Vikings win the game? What do the Lions need to do to win the game? Like a few predictions. We will get those coming up next on this Thursday edition of Locked On Lions and Locked On Vikings, the crossover. And this podcast today of Locked On Lions and Locked On Vikings brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level here in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. You want to bring in good people. You want to hire good people. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. People are constantly on LinkedIn looking for work, good professionals too. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates, right? So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a quality candidate within 24 hours. Thankfully, LinkedIn, they do it all for you with questions and everything else that's there. The process is intuitive, quick, and easy. Do me a favor, post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Go there now. Terms and conditions do apply. Matt and Luke back with you, Locked On Lions, Locked On Vikings for a Week 18. Kevin O'Connell v. Dan Campbell, and as Luke pointed out earlier, always a good matchup with Brad. I almost said Brad Holmes. My goodness. Ben Johnson and Brian Flores. I don't know if Kwesi and Brad, they've made some trades. Maybe they'll do some sort of a wrestling match pregame.
Yeah. Kwesi would want to do a little one-on-one basketball, play a little horse or something.
I mean, Brad's a former football player, D-end, so big dude. All right. How do the Vikings win? How on earth would this happen on Sunday for Minnesota to get a road win to end the year and a little momentum going into next year?
The boring answer is to not turn the ball over, but I do not have much faith in that because that is what I've said in literally 16 crossovers. I've said if they don't turn the ball over, they will win. And guess what they've done in all of their losses? They've lost the turnover battle. Kevin O'Connell has yet to lose a game where he wins or ties the turnover battle. It's really just that. It comes down to that. But Nick Mullins not turning the ball over, I wouldn't set your watch. And then, like I said before, they got to figure out a way to not get Jared Goff to just dunk on him all day. Like, you can't just get worked up and down the field and make 2 stops. That was a defensive output reminiscent of the Vikings against Daniel Jones in the playoff game that got Ed Donatel fired. It was horrible.
Well, I think, for the Lions, obviously that play on Saturday night, the 2-point conversion, the Lions can draw up great plays and trick plays and chicanery and all, whatever you want to say, to the best of them. But I think going back to the basics is Sunday of, all right, let's run the football. Let's get Gibbs and Montgomery going. Long runs, consistent drives, and just go back to playing what has been Detroit Lions football really over the past year and a half. Smash mouth and physicality and everything else. Get the win, keep everybody healthy, maybe even pull away second, third quarter to where they could start resting some people, and maybe we get a Teddy Bridgewater signing or sighting or whatever it is.
I would like that.
And then cruising the next week. I think that's what the Lions are looking to do. But it starts up front. The offensive line has been really, really good. I know there's been some talk this week about Micah Parsons owned Penei Sewell. Not true. I don't see that. I didn't see that happening the other day. I think the Lions go back to kind of just the drawing board of the basics and running the football. And then on defense, I want you to keep an eye on something. Kirby Joseph, and here I'm going to actually side with you. I think Kirby Joseph's low hit on TJ Hawkinson, the more I watch it, and the more I don't like it. I don't think.
Oh, really? I didn't mind it.
Didn't mind it? Really?
No, because here's the deal. I don't think he was intending to injure or anything. He was just diving.
But I don't like tackling low like that.
Yeah. I get that. It wasn't that low. Like, it was kind of, he went for the thighs and got the knees. What I think is crucial is that he got his head out of the way and got his shoulder there. I think Vikings fans are just really mad that a player that they like got hurt, and are looking for someone to blame. But man, it's a combat sport. Like, this is what happens. And especially on a guy that's bigger than you, you are not supposed to go at his chest or at his shoulder pads. You're not taught to do that. You're taught to go for the waist and for the thighs. Ended up a little low, maybe dove a little bit early. But I think to call it intentional or call him dirty or anything, I always thought that was super, super unfair.
No, I don't think it was intentional or dirty, but I didn't like it. The more I watch it, I go, did he need to get that low? But do I think he was going to intend to injure? No. My point on Sunday is, let's say there's a run play early in the game, whether it's Chandler, Madison, whomever, and Joseph's in there, and then a lineman or somebody wants a pound of flesh, a little late hit, little nudge. Lions can't get into a back and forth. CJ Gardner-Johnson might come back Sunday, and he's going to be all kinds of riled up. The last thing we need is some sort of fight. A guy breaks his hand punching a guy in the helmet. Just the Lions need to if someone does anything to Joseph, late shove, anything, get up, break it up and get back to the huddle. I think the Lions need this game to be stress-free and kind of relaxed to an extent. Not really relaxed.
Don't get someone suspended for the wild card game.
Right. Yeah. Nothing stupid this week.
Yeah. Nothing stupid. I love
heading into the playoffs. And I think that would be, an extreme positive for this football team. And, the other thing too is I'm going to be very interested in watching the confidence that this team has in their kicker, Michael Badgley, because this past week, obviously with the election really of Dan Campbell going for 2 no matter what, although he did say on the radio this week, if the ball had been past the 10-yard line, he would have kicked the extra point and gone for the tie. But will the Lions continue to be gambling a lot? Or are they going to take a look this Sunday at what they have at kicker with Badgley? They had Riley Patterson kind of waiting in the wings, but now he's been signed by the Browns. So Badgley is going to be the guy. Are they going to be in a situation where they're constantly going for it on these 40, 47, 48-yard attempt, opportunities, or are they going to let Badgley kick? That's something to keep an eye on for Sunday afternoon.
One thing that is interesting on these games where, where you're in the playoffs and you're just kind of trying to survive is that a lot of times you'll see a lot of setups. And I wonder if Ben Johnson does a lot of that, where it's, you'll run, and it might even be the trick play. You'll run the thing where there's a reverse, and now you can use that end around motion to just on your regular run plays in the game that actually matters. I wonder if we'll see some of that, and it'll be like, wait, why are you burning your trick play in the middle of this meaningless game? And that's not what they're doing. It's that they want it on tape because they want the Rams or whoever to say, okay, they've got that, watch that end around motion and be super aware of it. So you might see some of that stuff. I wonder if Kevin O'Connell will just empty the clip of all the fun stuff that he had installed but hasn't gone to yet. So we might see some fun. I think this is going to be a fun one just from pure entertainment perspective, just because we have Nick Mullins bozo ball. We got a loose Vikings team with nothing to lose. It's going to be weird, fun stuff. And you just kind of have to let your hair down, relax, and just decide you're going to enjoy the sport instead of like freaking out over the stakes and the results and the draft position and all that.
I've had a couple of listeners and viewers that have tweeted to me and said, what if the Lions on the first offensive play have Taylor Decker go over to the official and say and announce his eligibility?
Oh, do
on
it!
The first play. Just, you know, that would be something. 68 is is eligible. That would be pretty fun.
68 is eligible. I need to plug to your listeners. You should go listen to Locked On NFL, last like 5-ish, 10-ish minutes of it. I went at the officials pretty hard over this. I think your listeners might like it.
Oh, thank you. No, I just think that a lot of people have piled on. I know the Peter Kings and the Mike Florios have taken the stance that the league has taken. Well, the Lions were too deceptive and then blah, blah, blah. And, bottom line is that deception is a huge part of the game. You're doing whatever it takes within the confines of the rules to win. And I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but you sucked me back in, Luke. So
I go listen. It's very clear that he just like mixed up the numbers, and that's what happened.
Are you picking the Vikings or Lions? Where are we going?
Who cares?
Yeah,
I'm picking the over.
Oh, I love what is the number? I don't even know the number.
I don't even know. Don't even care. There's going to be 65 points. This is going to be a college game.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think the Vikings will. I think Mullins will have some success. Look, he did the other day. It's not like it's not like he was.
And there is something to. So Mullins is under contract for one more year. They've got Jaron Hall on a rookie contract, so like that puts it kind of a weird spot. I don't think they bring Josh Dobbs back. I think he was a little bit of just a quick rental. But you kind of do get a little bit like Nick Mullins gets to sort of stake his claim on the backup job and give himself probably a leg up going into what will be a camp battle for it next year. So there's some like personal stakes on all of this. There might be contract incentives, although I think all of those are already decided from here. So there's definitely like stuff that people care about in this game. But yeah, who wins or who 7-10 or 8-9, who cares? Either way, it wasn't good enough.
I'll be very excited to see JJ McCarthy under center for the Vikings next year.
Hey, could be. I haven't watched him at all. I've watched like 2 Michigan games, and honestly, I wasn't paying much attention.
Well, pay attention Monday night, buddy.
All right.
Luke, great to see you, bud, and have fun Sunday.
All right, you too, man.
There he is, Luke Braun with us, and my name is Matt Dery. This has been Locked On Lions and Locked On Vikings, the Thursday crossover, brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks.